Hello warriors. If we want to dominate a woman, we must dominate ourselves. For this, we consider how to turn a self-doubt into a real power over women. Part 1, The Nature of Strength. A strong personality does not need to dominate loudly. It does not argue for its position. It does not negotiate its worth. Strength is felt before it is explained, and often without explanation at all. Most men misunderstand control. They believe control means directing another person's actions, emotions, or choices. This belief reveals their insecurity. The moment a man tries to control another human being directly, he exposes the absence of something far more important, inner sovereignty. A woman does not submit to force. She submits to structure. And structure is born not from manipulation, but from clarity, restraint, and unshakable self-command. The sovereign man does not seek obedience. He creates a world in which staying feels more logical than leaving. Part 2, Self-control as the first dominion. No man who lacks control over himself can maintain influence over others. This is not philosophy. It is mechanics. A man ruled by impulse leaks information constantly. His excitement exposes need. His jealousy exposes fear. His anger exposes entitlement. His explanations expose insecurity. Every emotional reaction is a confession. The strong man understands this early. Emotion is energy, and energy must be conserved and released deliberately. He does not suppress feeling. Suppression creates volatility. Instead, he regulates expression. He pauses where others react. He observes where others explain. He withdraws where others pursue. This alone separates him from the majority. Women are exceptionally sensitive to emotional instability, not because they are weak, but because instability signals danger. A man who cannot govern himself will eventually attempt to govern her emotions, her behavior, her freedom. The sovereign man never does this. Because he does not need to. Part 3, Boundaries, the invisible architecture of power. Weak men demand compliance. Strong men establish boundaries. A boundary is not a rule imposed on another person. It is a line that defines where you stop participating. I do not tolerate this. I do not continue under these conditions. I am willing to walk away. These statements are not threats. They are facts. Most men fear boundaries because boundaries risk loss. And loss terrifies those whose identity is built on external validation. But the sovereign man accepts loss as a cost of integrity. This is why his boundaries are respected. A woman may test boundaries, not to break them, but to locate them. The presence of boundaries creates psychological safety. Chaos does not attract. Structure does. The man who removes boundaries to keep a woman reveals that she already controls him. Part 4, The Illusion of Control versus Real Influence. Direct control is fragile. Influence is durable. Control requires constant enforcement. Influence requires presence. A man who attempts to control a woman's behavior must monitor, correct, persuade, pressure. This is exhausting. And eventually, it fails. The sovereign man controls the environment, not the individual. His availability. His investment. His standards. His reactions. By doing so, he indirectly shapes the interaction. People adjust themselves around strong frames. They do not need to be pushed. A woman stays not because she is trapped, but because leaving would mean entering a weaker structure. This is the highest form of power, when freedom exists, but choice favors you. Part 5, emotional independence as dominance. Need is the most visible form of weakness. The man who needs a woman to feel complete has already surrendered leverage. His behavior becomes performative. His decisions become negotiable. His identity dissolves into the relationship. The sovereign man is emotionally independent. This does not mean coldness. It means non-dependence. He enjoys connection without clinging to it. He values intimacy without fearing its loss. He can desire without desperation. This paradox creates gravity. A woman feels when she is wanted versus when she is needed. Want creates warmth. Need creates pressure. Pressure suffocates desire. The sovereign man never applies pressure. He simply continues being himself, with or without her presence. Part 6: Leadership without coercion. Leadership is not about authority. It is about direction. In relationships, direction appears in small decisions. Where to go? When to leave? What behavior continues? What behavior ends interaction? This is how I do things. I'm leaving now. No drama. No justification. A woman does not follow because she is ordered. She follows because the path is clear and the man walking it does not hesitate. Uncertainty kills attraction faster than rejection. Part 7: The Power of Withdrawal. Withdrawal is not punishment. It is alignment. When values are violated, the sovereign man does not argue. He does not plead for understanding. He does not escalate emotionally. He reduces presence. This silence is not manipulation. It is consequence. Most men cannot withdraw. They fear abandonment more than self-betrayal. This fear makes them predictable, and predictability is weakness. The man who can leave calmly demonstrates abundance without words. And abundance is power. Part 8: Voluntary Desire versus Enforced Attachment. There is a fundamental difference between attachment and desire. Attachment seeks security. Desire seeks vitality. The sovereign man does not aim to be needed. He aims to be chosen. Choice requires freedom. Any system that removes freedom destroys desire. This is why attempts at control ultimately backfire. What remains may look like loyalty, but it is only inertia. The sovereign man prefers desire, even if it is temporary, over hollow permanence. He is not afraid of endings. Endings are proof that nothing was forced. Part 9: Why Women Follow Strong Men. Women do not follow strength because it dominates them. They follow it because it relieves them of chaos. A strong man knows who he is, knows what he tolerates, knows where he is going, does not beg to be joined. This clarity is rare. And rarity creates value. Part 10: The Central Truth. The strongest man does not control a woman. He controls himself, his standards, his emotional economy, his willingness to walk away. The woman stays, voluntarily. And voluntary choice is the only control that lasts. The fatal misunderstanding of control. The weak man believes control is something he takes. The strong man knows control is something that emerges. This single misunderstanding is the source of nearly every failure in relationships. When a man attempts to control a woman directly, her choices, her emotions, her behavior, he reveals three things at once. 1. He does not trust his own position. 2. He fears loss more than self-respect. 3. He believes attraction can be maintained through force. All three are false. Control imposed from the outside creates resistance. Control generated from structure creates alignment. The weak man never builds structure. He improvises reactions. Chapter 12, Emotional Negotiation, the Language of Weakness. Nothing erodes authority faster than emotional negotiation. Phrases like, "Why are you doing this to me? Can we talk about what I did wrong? I just want reassurance. Please understand how I feel." These are not expressions of vulnerability. They are requests for regulation. The weak man hands over emotional responsibility to the woman, then resents her for holding it. This creates an inverted dynamic: she becomes the regulator, he becomes the dependent. Once this inversion occurs, attraction dies quietly. The sovereign man never negotiates emotions. He observes, decides, and acts. Chapter 13, Overinvestment and the Illusion of Loyalty. Overinvestment masquerades as devotion. The weak man gives too much too early. Time without scarcity. Attention without discernment. Availability without cost. He believes generosity will secure loyalty. It does not. It signals that his life lacks competing priorities. It communicates that he has no higher calling than the relationship itself. And nothing destroys desire faster than becoming someone's entire world. The sovereign man invests proportionally. He does not rush closeness. He allows attachment to develop at its natural pace. He never sacrifices direction for proximity. This is why his presence feels earned, not assumed. Chapter 14, Fear of Loss as a Control Mechanism. Fear is a poor foundation for influence. Weak men attempt to hold relationships together through guilt, obligation, emotional pressure, threats of withdrawal they cannot execute. This is not control. It is panic management. The moment a woman senses that a man fears losing her more than losing himself, the balance is broken. Fear produces compliance, not desire. Compliance produces resentment, not loyalty. The sovereign man accepts loss as a possibility. This acceptance is what makes him formidable. Chapter 15, The Compulsion to Explain. Explanation is often a plea for validation. The weak man explains his intentions, his past, his feelings, his motives. He hopes that transparency will create understanding. Instead, it creates predictability. Predictability removes tension. Tension is the engine of attraction. The sovereign man speaks clearly but sparingly. He does not clarify himself endlessly. He allows others to interpret and adjust accordingly. Silence, when intentional, is authority. Chapter 16, Jealousy as Self-Exposure. Jealousy is not proof of care. It is proof of insecurity. When a man reacts with jealousy, he communicates fear of replacement, lack of abundance, fragile self-worth. The weak man attempts to disguise jealousy as concern or protection. It fails. The sovereign man does not compete emotionally. He does not monitor. He does not interrogate. He understands that choice is the point. If loyalty must be enforced, it is already gone. Chapter 17, The Trap of Nice Behavior. Niceness is not kindness. Niceness is often a strategy used by men who fear rejection. It is compliance disguised as virtue. That nice man avoids conflict at all costs. He tolerates behavior that violates his values. He sacrifices boundaries to preserve harmony. Harmony without respect is submission. The sovereign man is polite but firm. Warm but immovable. He is willing to disappoint. This is why he is trusted. Chapter 18, Control through presence, not pressure. Pressure creates collapse. Presence creates gravity. The weak man increases pressure when he feels distance. More messages. More questions. More emotional intensity. The sovereign man does the opposite. He reduces presence. Not as punishment. As recalibration. This absence forces reality to surface. What is real returns. What is artificial fades. He is not afraid of the outcome. Chapter 19, Why Manipulation Always Fails. Manipulation requires constant energy. It demands monitoring reactions, adjusting narratives, managing impressions, preventing exposure. This is exhausting. Eventually, manipulation reveals itself through inconsistency. And once revealed, trust collapses completely. The sovereign man does not manipulate. He aligns. Alignment requires less effort because it is rooted in truth, his standards, his boundaries, his direction. People either adapt or leave. Both outcomes are acceptable. Chapter 20, The Moment Power Shifts. Power shifts the moment a man realizes he does not need to win every interaction. The weak man argues to be right. The sovereign man disengages when alignment is lost. Disengagement is not defeat. It is selectivity. Selectivity is status. Chapter 21, The Core Error of Weak Men. The greatest mistake weak men make is this. They try to control outcomes instead of becoming the kind of man for whom outcomes align naturally. They focus on tactics instead of structure. On persuasion instead of presence. On holding instead of being chosen. This is why their control never lasts. Chapter 22, The Uncomfortable Truth. A woman cannot be controlled without destroying desire. But desire does not need control. It needs stability, direction, emotional safety, freedom. The sovereign man provides these without effort, because they are extensions of who he already is. Weak men seek control because they lack center. Strong men have center, and control becomes irrelevant. What remains is choice. And choice, freely exercised, is the only form of loyalty that means anything. A mature man does not seek control. He becomes the center.